We chose not to focus on the past week, but where the candidate's going to be this coming weekend.
Okay.
This coming week after the debate.
All right.
Yeah. So on Friday, October 30th, he's going. Candidate Rubio, Senator Rubio, is going to be in Iowa, returning to Iowa, and he's going to be doing a rally with several other Republican candidates. And he's going to stay in Iowa that Saturday, where he's going to do two events, one in the morning and one in the afternoon, both of which he's doing just by himself.
Are these rallies or these fundraisers?
No fundraisers. The event on Friday with the other candidates is a rally. The event on Saturday morning is a town hall, and then
what kind of voters are we speaking to?
more rural voters in Iowa, except for on Saturday afternoon. That's in Des Moines, Iowa,
Okay.
at the state fairgrounds.
Gotcha. And the attendance, is it, like, how important is this that we make it?
Mm-hmm. The sense that I get is that it's not been heavily advertised. It's not a huge event. It's not like Bernie Sanders going to Portland, Oregon, or something like that.
Okay.
But it is an important event. Just as everything is important.
So why is it important?
Just because Iowa's the first state that caucuses that has an election on February 16th. And right now, Senator Rubio is currently in third. And if he's able to, behind Ben Carson and Trump, and if he's able to chip away at their lead, that could really give him some great momentum heading into the other three big elections.
Okay, so what's our message?
We believe that we should first start with restoring his brand as a young conservative capable of beating Hillary Clinton. So that would come from trying to distance himself from Obama, as Jeb Bush kind of tried to associate him with Obama originally. And then also kind of he's taken some attacks regarding his attendance in the Senate, and so kind of stressing the importance of being on the campaign trail as well as his constituent services that he's been delivering to Florida. And then also moving on to kind of the other attack that's been made about his youth. He's 44, and also maybe focusing on how he believes that political gridlock is kind of a factor brought on by kind of outdated politicians too set in their ways, not willing to kind of compromise, and the idea that he could bring about that change and bring about that compromise.
What are we hearing about my debate performance?
He was
Knocked out of the park. I'm pretty sure it's consensus that he won.
Okay.
good.
Does that help restore the brand?
Absolutely.
Do we know what the message was coming out of the debate, our message?
Was that it'll be a nightmare for Hillary.
That
Yeah.
like Rubio would be?
Yes.
Okay, and what about my good friend Jeb?
Oof. Struggle.
Yeah, that's not great.
How would you all recommend we move forward?
Okay, so going into dealing with Bush, because he did not fare too well and he hasn't been faring well in debates, we decided he should probably be the person we attack the least if we're going to, but that we should distance ourselves from him because we share all the same constituents in Florida. So if we do bring him up, it needs to be more substance that he's a moderate, he supported Common Core, and Rubio is more of a conservative, much more conservative in touch with his deeply conservative roots. So
Because Jeb and I are friends.
correct. Also, it's we talked about the fact that he would be valuable as a VP because of his name. So going out and brawling with him constantly would not be the best strategy.
And is this message, is our message working in the polls? Are we seeing an uptick in the polls? Like, how do we know that the message is resonating? Other than the debate.
I mean, it's still pretty early in the polls, so he's going up gradually. But we believe that most of the top candidates like Trump, Carson, and Fiorina, the kind of populist outsiders that the GOP loves, eventually always kind of go out of style. So we're confident that the upward trend will continue.
So just remind me, what are my strengths? What are my weaknesses at this point so far? What do you say?
I think, I guess starting with weaknesses are kind of what Lizzie touched on, your experience, in the sense that even during the very first debate, he said that if this election were about experience, Hillary Clinton would be the winner and should be the winner. But that's not what Rubio's arguing. He's saying, acknowledging that as his weakness, but he's saying that's not what this election's about.
Okay.
And then as kind of a strength, his Cuban American background kind of gives him a strong pull for immigration than Hispanic voting.
Personal story. So
Yeah.
just stick with that.
Mm-hmm.
I would say he's much more electable than anyone else because of his youth, because of his ability to unite disenfranchised GOP blocks, voting blocks. He has the best chance to beat Hillary.
Okay. And then what about our opponents? moving forward, how should we deal with them? I know we spoke a little bit about Jeb,
Sure.
my friend, but what about Carson? He's the front runner now, right?
Yeah.
He's in first place in
Yeah.
that poll. How do we deal with him?
Carson is kind of, he's going to be a little more tough to take down than anyone, but we think that one of the big things we can hit on is his lack of foreign policy experience. Do we really think that he has the demeanor and the strength to take on someone like Putin, someone like Ahmadinejad, someone like, Assad or the Chinese leaders? We have experience with that, and that's one of the main constitutional roles of the president, is to be a figurehead and to do diplomatic business, and do we really think he can do that?
Yeah, he definitely doesn't have the same foreign policy experience as I do. What about Trump? How do we deal with him?
So I think the most important things to focus on with Trump is not just his electability, but also kind of his political past and how he's donated to the Clinton Foundation, and in so doing has essentially donated to who the Democratic nominee is going to be. And he's such a polarizing figure that he's just not truly electable.
Doesn't the fact that he's donated to Democrats, voted for Democrats in the past, make him more attractive to independents?
Mm-hmm.
Could that
Well,
be
most
true?
polls show that he would lose by a landslide. In terms of the other candidates, I think it's something like 38 to 48. The 10-point difference is huge.
So you all are saying that we should attack Carson and attack Trump?
Well, we should. I don't think we should attack Trump in a very heavy way, because we don't want to alienate his constituency. I'd say the same goes for Carson. Although we do have to get somewhat negative, like we've said, we want to make sure that we're not doing it in a way that makes those supporters unwilling to support us.
And I'm just unclear on how the message, if we have an optimistic message, we also want to attack, just so I'm clear, we also want to attack our opponents. I mean, we didn't attack Jeb until he came after us, right?
Right.
So do we want to keep it above the fray, or do we want to play in the mud? Which one is it? So I'm saying here, message, stay positive, restore the brand,
Right.
and then opposition, attack.
I think you can kind of go about the opposition in ways of maybe not necessarily highlighting that those candidates don't have those things, but maybe highlighting the things they don't have within your own message. So highlighting your political experience, highlighting your electability, and highlight how you don't support any part of the Clinton Foundation or anything like that. So kind of without necessarily throwing names right out there, but say like separating yourselves from those candidates and highlighting that you're better than them essentially.
Anything else that I should know? Okay.
I think so.
If we may have an interview later in the week or Sunday, what should I be prepared for? What's in the news right now? What's big? Where do we stand on that? Boots on the ground in Iraq. Well, what else is going on?
The Syrian mess
The
is
Syrian
a
mess.
huge thing that needs to be addressed.
Okay.
You have to reassure the conservative base that will deal with the ISIS threat and roll back Russia's attempts to take over Syria, but also that there won't be boots on the ground, which is tough to juggle.
Okay.
So
I'm just wondering if for some reason we have an interview, what might I be asked?
Yeah.
But I think that's good. And that ties into the foreign policy experience that you
Yeah,
mentioned,
definitely.
and then we can ding Carson and a few others on that. All right.
Okay.
Thanks, guys.
Awesome.
You want feedback now or later?